We are.
Oh, we're live now.
Oh, look at the Weird Awakenings.
Stop talking.
Okay.
Welcome to another episode of Weird Awakenings.
Yes.
Morgana could not be with us tonight, but we have some wonderful guests with us, Rich and Laura, and Hadley, for that matter.
Yes.
Tonight we are going to be discussing comparative religion. What an interesting topic.
Yep.
For those that don't know, I'm going to read the definition for you. Comparative religion.
This will help me out a lot, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Active listening skills, Cecil. Comparative religion is the branch of study of religions with the systematic comparison of the doctrines and practices, themes and impacts of the world's religions in plural. In general, the comparative study of religion yields a deeper understanding of the fundamental philosophical concerns of religion, such as ethics, metaphysics, and the nature and forms of salvation and the universe.
Can you give that to me in a sentence?
So basically, compare and contrast different religious philosophies.
Right. Now go.
And now you're up, Cecil.
You go.
I'm very lost on this. It's been a hectic week, so research was not quite in the realm of reality this week. But I understand it to be like, the Buddhists meditate, the Christians pray, like things of that nature. So like there's throughout history, even like in the stories that you hear through different religions, you have great floods, you have things that they do that are very similar, such as a meditation and prayer. It can all be one and the same. So that's kind of what I take it as. That's about as far as I take it, as far as my knowledge goes.
I don't know that you're too far off base. I think what you're maybe getting at is the root of how intention is rooted in various religions.
Yeah. It all seems to circle back around to some way, even from Hinduism up to Jedi. There's always one person that seems to be the prophet and the son of the one true, or the daughter of the one true Lord, or whatever, and then they lead a religion to be formed and all that good stuff.
Well, the details differ. Like some religions are polytheistic and some are just one God. And so, I think they always come down to those central questions, the meaning of life, why are we here, those kinds of things. So I think that's why you see a lot of similarities, like the flood myth in so many different religions. I think a lot of them, it's because too, they stem from earlier religions and then go off and, twist and change. I think it's really actually important. I'm not a religious person at all, but I grew up Unitarian Universalist, and in our Sunday school we learned about all the religions, and I shouldn't say all the religions, but a lot of religions. And I thought that was a really cool way to learn about them, because then we grew up being able to kind of piece together our spirituality without being just spoon-fed one thing, or I think it allows you to open your mind a bit and understand the differences and the similarities between different cultures. So I think it's important, actually, just like with history, for people to understand different religions. That's my humble opinion about it.
I think that's great. I actually go to the UU church when I go to church. That's where I go here in Jackson.
Right.
And they're very welcoming. This is crazy, but I met a lot of my pagan friends there because they have a pagan group that meets. Now, in addition, at the UU church here in Jackson is primarily atheist.
Yeah, so I am. And a lot of my friends are. So, but that's why I say I think you can be spiritual without necessarily adhering. And I'm not being pro UU either. I'm just saying, in my experience, it was great to be able to learn different aspects, of various religions. It allowed us to ask questions, discuss things.
I grew up screaming on stage Southern Baptist.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So
Yours sounded fun.
So you can sing that.
it was pretty fun.
Was there snake handling involved?
No, I've been to a snake handling church.
You know, you may be about to mention this, but in our hometown, there was a ton of churches, but the snake handling churches in particular, if you could catch the rattlesnakes, you could take them there, and they'd give you $100 a piece for them.
No way.
You used to actually make the transfer at the gas station in the middle of town.
Commerce and religion.
But yeah, I mean, and I know this is off topic, but the flood myth isn't a myth. I mean,
I knew you were going to say that.
that's all but proven. That's all but proven now.
Yeah. Yeah, the work that Randall Carlson's been doing on that for years is he's pretty much proved that a catastrophic event did take place.
Yes, ark thing. I don't know. I just have to question the physics of that. But yes, the flood. You're right.
Yeah, as soon as you start looking into the World's Fairs in Tartaria, for me was really when I accepted it.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah.
So I mean, what would make you? So I mean, basically, I've got questions about this, and I'd hope somebody has answers. So, what exactly?
Let's do it.
What exactly led to like people comparing, you know, like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and all this? Like,
So
just because they read the same book and they're like, well, that's the same thing that you do here.
I think it's the nature of man to need to put labels on things.
And to connect. I mean, we do it with comparative literature too, right? There's a lot of different. So I don't know who started it. I think it's in human nature to question and to look for similarities and differences. So I mean, comparative religion goes back a long way. I couldn't tell you when it started.
Let's not forget, the monetary portion of this, money and power as well.
Right. And that's been a big part of it for 1,700 years.
Yeah.
At least. Maybe more. I figure it was.
I mean,
I figure that goes back even
What y'all
farther.
might not know is in another life, I worked at the synagogue here. And one of the things that I was very intrigued by was the different people who would come in. And I met a gentleman who was in the last stage of becoming a Catholic priest. He had been raised a Baptist. He had changed religion like 4 or 5 times. He decided he was going to become a Catholic priest, was in the process, and then he quit it. And he was at the synagogue getting some information about Judaism. And I had some questions for him. And again, I know some of y'all have heard me say this before about, it was very interesting being me working there because all the people who went to synagogue knew that I wasn't one of the people who went there. So they assumed that I was Christian, and all the Christians who came in assumed I was Jewish. So there I am, not really either, but open. And it was very interesting how people treat you different. But this guy told me, he said, there were secrets that the Catholic priesthood keeps that he learned. And he said he never felt comfortable going forward with that because he feels like people should know these secrets, that, they shouldn't be, that the church doesn't have the right to prevent that truth from people. So he said, it's true that Rome decided that they were going to conquer the world, but they put down the sword for a book. And that's how Rome conquered the world, was through the Bible.
Yeah. Well, I believe Hitler was the one that stated that religion was the opiate of the masses, wasn't he?
I thought it was Marx, but
Was that Marx? Was that Karl
I thought
Marx?
it was Marx.
Yeah, well, Marx, his family, they converted from Judaism to Christianity, And of course, Karl Marx and Charles Darwin, neither one of those guys ever actually had a real job, and they promoted Marxism and communism. And
What do they know?
Problems.
Yeah.
Isn't philosophy the greatest job? Like that Family Guy episode when they show his philosopher ancestry and goes, "Why?" You know?
Have y'all ever taken the quiz at belief.net to see what you align with religiously?
Mm-mm.
No,
No.
I'll
Never
do it.
done
Right
I
now.
suggest everyone go and do it because it was very surprising to me.
Like right now, or no? I'm just kidding.
No, not right now. Just do, and let's reconnect and revisit it later because I'd
Okay.
be very interested to see what y'all say.
Belief.net. I'll do it.
I tested pretty dead on for a religion I'd never heard of.
It's called
Interesting.
belief.net.
I'll do it,
Yes.
Well, what
Why not? I
religion
love
did they say
quizzes.
you lined up with?
especially if they involve Harry Potter.
All it says to me is get paid to write.
So what religion did you wind up with, Hadley?
I'm gonna have to go look and see what it's called because it was, like I said, it's not something I'd ever heard of.
Interesting.
So
Well, I
when I
mean,
was
yeah, it's just not something that's down here.
Right.
when I was doing initial research on this, I guess where the starting point for me ended up being, I kept going back and back and back, and we had touched on this briefly in the past, but the Sumerians, their version of religion was strikingly similar to some of the stories in the Bible.
Right.
So part of me wonders, just how stories are told today and passed down, and how stories evolve over time. If maybe some of the aspects that landed in some of the books in the final output on the Bible may have been lent from some of the Sumerian beliefs.
Yeah, it's I don't know. To me, I've always wondered about that. I know that's always the what's promoted. Is that some of the Bible actually came from Sumerian beliefs, but Nimrod, who went to build the Tower of Babel, was the great grandson of Noah. So, what would he have learned from Noah, or what would he have learned from his family?
Well, and Nimrod could have been alive during the Sumerian days too,
right? Yeah, he very well could have been.
So I did save a portion that I was just going to read and tell me, like, to me, this sounds very similar to some spiritual texts today.
Oh yeah.
But this
does.
This is straight from the Sumerian, I guess, tablets they found. I cannot pronounce this name.
Hammurabi.
It's Nudimmud. The god of the sky, and Enlil, his favorite son, who received supreme authority from his father, reigned over a kingdom in Sumerian, and that the Sumerians compared to a high mountain. And in the beginning, the infinite primordial ocean, it is from this infinite original sea that the sky and the earth were born. At the beginning, the ground was dispersed in the universe, and then it was separated with the combined action of An and his son Enlil. And I'm not sure at what point Enke comes in, but there's a brotherly aspect there as well, I think, eventually. Stories of betrayal.
Yeah.
But that just, like, to me, in the beginning there was an infinite primordial ocean. That's what really slapped me in the face to save that.
Yeah. And that sounds very similar to another text,
Yeah, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that it could have been, one story could have been passed around to many cultures, starting from, or even at one point getting to the largest culture so they got dispersed. I mean, that's pretty easy. Pretty easy to.
Right. So, yeah, with that, I mean, the flood story is all over the world. All over the world. They even had the flood story here in America. The Native Americans, they have their own flood story. They have it in China. They have it everywhere.
One of the most valuable books that I ever read when I was younger was Meditation for Dummies. And the reason that I loved that book is because it was it had a chapter from the perspective of each of the world's most popular religions and how it plays into, and Christianity was one as well.
Right. Froze up.
I'm sorry, I'm taking this test. I think Tully's frozen.
Tell me
He looks very
froze up.
confused, don't
Is Tully frozen?
Look at him.
Totally.
I don't know. If he ain't frozen, he's having a stroke or getting abducted by aliens.
Oh no!
Oh no!
He did get abducted. Damn it.
Come back
I wonder
on.
what religion they are.
Yeah, the Hammurabi Code from Babylon, Samaria area. That's an old code.
We'll see. We're discussing something controversial, so maybe that's what happened. He just got booted off.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Rich, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't know. I'm ill prepared for this talk. I think.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that we all feel that way. Or, okay, most of it.
Well, this is a difficult talk to get into. And I don't mean uninteresting. I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to say difficult to research, but it's definitely time consuming.
Oh, yeah.
There's so much that you can learn and try to associate with from one to another, just like the Hammurabi Code you were just talking about, Stephen, because it translates to a lot of other religions, in certain areas of it. And other areas, are completely different. But I think that could be a people thing. That could be, we don't like that so much, so we're going to do this instead. And
Right.
they leave that portion of, of this religion out. And then this society or culture over here does the same thing. And now you've got, 50 religions throughout the world who have, it all sort of filters up to the top of the tree where it all started, and whatever, the base of it has changed over, millennia to what they have now. So
Right.
like I said, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that it all started as one thing.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I believe that's where I'm at with it. Last year when we studied, we did a show on voodoo, and to me, the farther back in voodoo that you went, the more similar it was to Middle Eastern religions, with the things that were practiced, and it has continued to change as it made its way from Africa across the
Right.
islands to America.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. I mean, I'm from New Orleans, and that definitely doesn't surprise me because it's just that now in New Orleans, for instance, that has merged with Catholicism. So it's become its own, entity.
Yeah.
Like,
And now
there's more Haitian voodoo, and then
Right.
there's some that's more West African.
Right.
And it's all about the culture in which you're raised and how things are expressed, around you in the modern times, really. But I find religion fascinating, and I've always loved to talk with people who had, I guess, were converting to a different religion from what they were raised with. And that's when I pretty much, for me, in forming my person, I'm what you call a very eclectic person spiritually. And I take what works for me and throw the rest away, but I'm interested in everything that works for you. But I believe that there comes a time when you're not hearing the voice of God or the universe or whatever it is that you tap into. And so you evolve to find what works for you. And, for me, I was raised in a very traditional environment in the Deep South where, predominantly Southern Baptist. And that just wasn't what worked for me. I had too many questions that weren't being answered, too many things that didn't feel right to me. And I was looking for what worked. And I found it other places. And but then again, the girl next to me, that was, Southern Baptist to the core. And just think that when talking with people who were converting, that was the biggest question, was that, you know, they had questions that weren't being answered, so they wanted to have those answers.
Hey,
Huh.
Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Um,
So I completed
Are we
this.
having internet issues across the board again?
Maybe I was having a lot of trouble getting back in here.
Dun dun dun. I completed this quiz. Apparently I should be,
It's that quiz.net that's slowing everything down, dude.
That is what it is.
I believe it says that I should be a Buddhist.
Nice.
Do you
Why
believe
not?
that? Totally?
As a Buddhist.
Yeah, you definitely have the patience for that.
Oh, yeah, I've got the patience of a Buddhist, you think?
And the beard.
The next time you punch a hole through a wall, I'm going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He just feels like
So, Hadley, what you just said, you said that you took portions of your religion that you were brought up with, and you sort of tailored it to yourself. You kept what you liked, and you sort of relaxed what you didn't like. And that was the same point that I made about religion in general. You know, it starts at the top of the tree and filters down. So you're a perfect example. I mean, you did that very thing. That, you know, it started as one thing and branched off into many other things.
Well, and that for me, and we've talked about this before, guys. You know, I had dreams that come true from a very early age, and was astral traveling, and so I had a lot of things going on that I had questions about, and everything that the Bible had to say was I was going to burn in hell. So I was like, no, that doesn't work for me.
yeah, I don't like that.
I'm not a bad person. I don't know why you're saying this stuff to me. And so it turned me off.
That's why that goes back to what we were talking about
like I said,
last
I
week.
looked elsewhere.
Just about
Was it
like
last week?
I think it was last week whenever we said that, you know, it's best to not look at things in terms of like good and evil, rather than perspectives themselves.
Right.
And I think like for me, I don't know where I would fall in the Plinko category. I'm a very spiritual person, but for me, it's like more so what's tangible, like things that I can actually.
We lost you, buddy. Lost your sound.
Yeah, you're muted. But I totally get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I feel that way too. I liked growing up open-minded, and I feel that that's why I think comparative religion is a really interesting thing that most people should embrace, because you learn, you know, just as any discourse is good to learn from other people. That's something that we're losing the ability to do in our modern society, which is very sad, because you learn so much about other people that may change your opinions, but also just may make you realize how similar we all are, you know, that we all want love, and we all want to survive, and we want
the downside of social media.
Right. Oh yeah,
Well,
definitely.
There's extremists in each religion.
Definitely. I mean, that's what I was going to say, is that I always was very open-minded to religions in general. I've always been really, I guess, what I call a spiritual atheist, because I don't believe in God, but I'm definitely spiritual, open to possibilities. And you know, I remember one time I went to Northwestern, and I was from New Orleans, and I would always take the same Southwest flight between Chicago and New Orleans. And one time I sat next to a woman who was very nice, and she was young. She had just gotten engaged. She was in secretarial school. And then some point during the flight, she said, "Have you been saved by Jesus?" And I was like, not yet. No, you know, but I let her do her spiel. And then by the end of the flight, she was like, I got up to leave, and she said, you seem like such a nice person. It's really a shame you're going to burn in hell. And I just thought, this is the problem. You know, when people are so extreme and grow up in one religion and are so afraid to ask questions and see what, to me, because then that's not fostering love, that's fostering hate. I mean, you're pretty much dismissing me, you know, now and in the afterlife.
Well, I think you made a good point too. You know, you do have spiritual beliefs, And I think that's what's missing a lot in the world. Like we were talking about a minute ago, is
Right.
There's a large part of society right now that doesn't believe in anything.
Right.
Doesn't
Yes.
feel anything beyond the 8 to 5 grind. You know what I mean?
Right. In their little TikTok window. Yeah.
It's not just that; it goes deeper than that. They don't just not believe anything; they knowingly hate anyone who does. And I see a
Who
lot of that.
differs from them. Yeah.
It's really fun to just to dislike anyone who is religious and their religion. And I mean, I am also an atheist, but I would never crap on someone's religion.
Never. No.
My mother-in-law is extremely religious. She's a Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the nicest person in the world. She doesn't force it on anyone. She's like I said, she's a wonderful person. And I simply can't understand how someone who doesn't believe in God can think that she's a bad person because of, other people. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are bad Christians. There really are.
Absolutely.
There are people who will take advantage of you and harm you to for whatever gain they want. But I think for the most part, people in general, both religious and not, can get along, and it's just they just don't want to anymore because it's really hard for me to watch somebody think it's cool to crap on religion.
Right.
Yeah, it's. I know that I've told y'all before. I'm a Bible believing Christian. So, and I mean, y'all haven't run me off. Y'all haven't tried to. Don't come back.
He still hangs out with us.
So, I mean, that's where this is. But yeah, I believe the Bible. I believe all of it. And
there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like you are, a Christian. I'm not. I don't believe in that. Right. I don't know if atheist to describe me is the right term, but I'm not really into most gods, I suppose, and religions itself. I think a lot of religion does taint stuff, but I think that it's the people who follow the religion. They are the ones who taint it or not, or don't.
You're absolutely right with that,
But
Rich.
it's the same thing with atheism. I mean, I can sit here and not believe in anything like that, but I can also be a dick about it and just rip people on social media for their beliefs. And when you do that, you're the same person as that the bad whatever, pick a religion, who tries to force it on people. You're doing exactly the same thing, and it's just hypocrisy and
absolutely
they won't see it that way.
But in the same token,
Crystal's got a good point.
Sorry, go on, Hadley.
Crystal's got a good point. She says she thinks a lot of people with that mindset are coming from a place of pain, possibly religious abuse in their past.
Absolutely.
Which I will say that, again, that's something that I learned. Most people who do convert to a different religion have some form of sexual or physical abuse in their past.
Yes. And I've talked to people who unfortunately experienced that when they were still considered to be a child.
Mm-hmm.
And it sent them away for many, many, many years,
I don't know how, my parents literally were like, go to church, don't go to church, figure out what you believe in and roll with it. And I think that's how I turned out the way that I am, like just experimenting with different belief systems and, principles that different religions have had to offer. And I do think there's a lot of, taken in the right context, there's a lot of really solid principles within pretty much every one of their religions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think
the ideas that should help to
Rabbi
make you a better person. Go on, Hadley. Sorry.
Rabbi Egolf had a book that he would recommend. It was called The Perfect Stranger, and there was like part 1 and part 2. And these books were geared towards people who were going into another religious center for like a wedding or a family, get together or whatever. And they were going to be a stranger to that religious subset. And it taught you, because if y'all have ever been to South Louisiana for a wedding, there's a lot of getting up and getting down.
Yes.
Which what I'm talking about, Laura. There's a lot of kneeling. And if
Absolutely.
you're from central Mississippi, you don't know about that, Neela, and you're like, I don't know what to do. But it kind of it introduces that to you and makes it where you're comfortable and respectful of these other cultures. And I
Mhm.
was flabbergasted that more people didn't know about this book or these books. We should
Yeah,
all have
I
one.
didn't know that. I mean, that's interesting. No, I mean, my family, I grew up UU, but my family, both sides were Catholic because it is New Orleans after all. So most of us are Catholic. And we called it Catholic calisthenics because, yeah, that's exactly what you would do. You'd have to stand up, sit down, kneel. You got your exercise on Sundays.
Yeah.
Speaking of weddings, I think my favorite ever was I went to a traditional Catholic Mexican wedding. They had the mariachi there afterwards.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds fun.
It was like that movie Coco. Lots of singing,
In real
lots
life.
of guitar. Yeah.
I can honestly say I've never been to a wedding that I've enjoyed.
Well,
Been to a lot of-
That speaks to some other issues, perhaps.
Not even one. Not
No.
even one, Cecil.
no, but I've been to a lot.
I
of
would be
receptions
pissed
I
off,
like
but
a
you
lot.
weren't technically at my wedding.
I've been to a lot of receptions I like. I've been to a lot of receptions I enjoyed
Well,
thoroughly.
I went to one in South Louisiana. They had a champagne fountain. They had a live band. They had beer on draft, and they were doing the alligator.
That sounds awesome.
It was, of course, the
That does
80s,
sound awesome.
but it was a lot of fun going.
I should probably say I like my wedding.
Yeah, that's what I
Oh,
was
you
hitting
did.
at. I was trying to bail you out.
I loved my wedding. We got married in my living room.
We got married in Vegas. Ours was quick.
Oh, I think when it comes to religion, I'm like a agnostic Christian leaning person because I'm like, is it
Well,
Dr.
you're Buddhist.
Pepper
I was
Cola
going to say you're Buddhist.
or beer? Like I don't know. I
Oh.
believe in a higher power. I just don't know exactly.
There was something strange that I was talking to you guys about earlier today. Well, obviously not Rachel or Laura because I didn't know they were coming on. But whenever I was looking into Christianity and like in an ancient type of situation, because I was trying to connect it back to the Sumerian stuff. A lot of the saints in Christianity, when you go back to the almost the original period, the saints are depicted as dog human hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, I think the most famous one was Saint Christopher. If you look up ancient Saint Christopher pictures or oldest Saint Christopher pictures, you're going to find paintings of him depicted as a half dog, half human hybrid. And that put me in the mind of Egypt.
I was getting ready to ask, do you think that they created those saints to be dog hybrids to fight with the Egyptian cat hybrids?
So this
Cat.
I don't want to call
weird.
I don't want to call them cryptids, but they were referenced to as cynocephaly, this dog race that allegedly was on the earth at one point, and they're still considered a cryptid. But there were armors, and I don't know if this is you probably can't see this very well.
No.
Oh yeah.
That's an shaped. It has a very long snout, like it was made for a dog, almost. Very
Called a hound helmet.
And there's multiples of those, and it could just be for intimidation factor on a man, but
Yeah.
during that period, it kind of came up in the same story.
Kind of like when kids chew Alka-Seltzer on the front line of a football game.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, I think it goes back to something was meddling with humans a long time ago.
I would agree.
That's where I come. That's where everything breaks down for me because I believe in a higher power. I don't know what it is, but I also believe that there was So that higher power probably had a creationist moment that doesn't fall within any particular guidelines of any religion, to where it's like a blend of a DNA almost.
Yeah, I can't tell you guys over the last month how many times I've said, "Oh yeah, that's the Nephilim."
Yeah,
Whenever I've seen the headlines and stuff,
Yeah.
I'm just like, "Oh yeah, that was the Nephilim," or that was Nimrod or Apollyon. You know, like you just
Yeah, and to me, a lot of it all goes back, and I know that Ancient Aliens is a popular show, and with all the stuff and all the technology that came here, and I agree with them in part. To me, there was definitely something going on that shouldn't have been.
Mhm.
I'm just not sure that those what they're calling aliens are actually from somewhere out there in deep space. I tend to believe that they're more of an interdimensional being.
Or
did
past
you
the
guys
ice
see
wall.
the angel that was uncovered in Russia? The
Yeah,
stone angel.
that was a really big teraphim,
Yeah.
as it would have been known in like 700 BC.
That was one of those moments where I was like, okay, if I just found that randomly, I'm getting out of there. Like
Put it back.
yeah.
Yes,
No,
Alan, he is.
Yeah.
And the same goes for the videos that are coming out of the Euphrates, where they're hearing all those weird noises where the water is going away.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Yeah.
how to answer that question, Alan.
Can you Tully, can you mimic the noises that's coming out?
No one's going to answer that question here.
Is the blood of Jesus still living?
Well, I think that's a different question than the original. He asked if Jesus was still alive.
Well,
Yeah,
The whole
yes.
Mary Magdalene thing.
Yes, I'm going to say yes. Jesus is still alive because I believe that he rose from the dead.
yeah. And and if you believe that one theory about Saint Germain, he claims to be the man
Mhm.
himself. So, but I don't know, man. Religion is one of those things. Like it's the hardest question that you'll ever be posed with if you really want to be involved in it. Sometimes, like people that are atheists, I feel like you have the easiest way to go because it doesn't weigh heavy on you. Like as far as somebody that's just confused and doesn't know exactly what's happening or what comes after, it's a strange feeling.
You know what? I don't even know at this point where think about all the subjects we've talked about over the years. Like I don't even know if I saw like something that was like definitive evidence, like in the sky, for example. Like let's just say
Oh
you
yeah,
saw like a classic depiction of an angel in the sky. I wouldn't automatically believe that that's what that was.
at this
Right.
point, I would totally think it was fake.
Yeah, I would think Project Bluebeam.
Yeah.
Like they've done it. Good job, guys.
Yeah, that's where I would go first.
It's Mysterio from Spider-Man, like
Yeah, that what was it? The hologram? I think you sent that to me today. Man, that was a pretty impressive hologram.
it's a trip. They've got some pretty crazy
It
holograms
was.
in general today.
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
I don't think I sent it, Cecil, because you were working.
I'm seriously wanting to hear these sounds from the Euphrates that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Can you mimic these sounds?
Well,
Dude, it sounded like people like very deep bellowing, and there's allegedly
Well, give us one. Let's hear it.
I don't even know if
just
Show
let
and
one
tell.
loose.
I think it's supposed to be. Isn't the conspiracy there that the four horsemen are supposed to be under the Euphrates?
Yeah, they're
Like
what-
Euphrates dry up. Yeah, it's in the
yeah,
world.
they're angels that are bound underneath the Euphrates River. So just like Apollyon
Now-
is bound right now in a pit.
Well, Nimrod's out.
Yeah.
They've got Nimrod in the Smithsonian or somewhere.
I wonder if his scanner's green.
So I think I've sent you all that video, but so when there's a whole conspiracy that if you haven't heard it, I'll sum it up in like a 10-second version. The Gulf War, or at least a part of the Gulf War,
Oh yeah.
Desert Storm, part of one of the reasonings for that expedition or war itself was to recover the body of Nimrod that they had found, and there's footage of his body had not decomposed at all.
Right.
Adorned in gold, and I think they estimated him to be like 10 feet tall in the video.
Yeah. He was a giant, and his body was in stasis. Would that be the correct way to say that?
Yep.
Nimrod was the purple one, wasn't he?
Yeah, his skin looks weird.
Okay.
And
I've got a question.
Odin. Oh, was it Orion that they found recently? He was green, right?
I don't know about that one.
The one they found in the Nile River, where it's down. Was that Orion they found this earlier this year? Who was that they found this?
I don't know.
I have no idea. You lost me.
I'm sorry. What were you saying, Hadley?
I got a question. So Nimrod is different than the giant of was it Kalahar?
Nimrod.
The giant of Kandahar.
Yes.
Yeah, there were two giants
Is
in
that
Kandahar.
different?
Yes.
The giant of Kandahar is just basically a remnant of Tartaria.
Yeah,
because Tartaria was ruled by these these people with double rolled teeth and long red hair giants, basically, and they were part and stuff.
So those giants were killable. Nimrod, the Nephilim of many names, as he's referred to. Like Nimrod is synonymous with like Apollo, Apollyon. What's the other ones? There's Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh.
So Nimrod cannot be killed because he's a true Nephilim, and he hates people. He hates humans, actually, in the lore, humanity in general. But
this is fascinating. I love watching Rich's face through all this.
I remember, I didn't go to Sunday school, but I did read a little up here.
You're not going to hear that in Sunday school.
No, you're not.
I'm talking about Nimrod. Wasn't he like a grandson of Noah?
Yes. Grandson or great grandson of Noah.
Was his dad's name Cush or something? I can't remember, but so I mean, right there, we're going back, reaching back into the Bible for Noah.
Right.
So,
and what you're going to be surprised.
This is not comparative religion.
Right.
This is a rabbit hole of
Okay.
It's comparative. The reason it's comparative is because Nimrod is in many religions, such as Apollo and Ra. He's this allegedly he is this being that keeps popping up throughout the ages that assumes a position of authority and domain over humanity until something puts him back down into the stasis again.
Right.
So this is where we want to be with comparative religion, where we start looking at the gods that are interchangeable in the different sources.
Yep.
Or
The Greek gods
We've
became
got,
the Roman gods.
And the Roman gods became
the myth and lore of today. Before that, though, I mean, they were the Egyptian gods, the Babylonian gods. It goes as far back as known history.
What is
these different gods? You had Tammuz and Semiramis.
Enlil.
Huh?
Cecil asked what the oldest. It would be Enlil and Enki from Sumerian text.
Right.
The oldest that we know of.
Yeah.
The alphabet company saying Hinduism.
Well,
Hinduism was like
let me ask you
500 BC,
this.
I think, wasn't it? Or was that Buddhism?
It's
Maybe
more
Buddhism that
most
started
of
in
these
500
are
BC.
Western pantheons. What about the Eastern? Like the Chinese or the Japanese? What about there? Because I've found it difficult to find just any information, deep information about the way their pantheons are set up for China, because I'm interested in that. And it is very different than you would say the Western were, because you can see some similarities with like even the Celts, but when you start going to the Germans are very different too.
There were a lot of regional deities, like even as recent as during the Vietnam War, when we were playing voices of their local deities to try to mess with those folks. I think there were, and I don't know if China was this way, but at least in some of those regions there were very small sects of people who believed in local gods.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's just like Shintoism and with Japan, that's basically for the Japanese and Japanese only. It wasn't until they actually made the emperor show himself at the end of World War II before the Japanese finally quit fighting, I believe. Was that correct?
I
Anybody look into that?
I believe you're right there.
If we're talking WW2, we need Reed here. He's the war historian.
Yeah.
So what did you find about China, Adley?
I've had difficulties, but there's a big tie-in with the Tao Buddhism and the myths and legends of China. But it's very different than the way it's set up with the Western. There's like so many different levels of heaven, and you reincarnate, and you get to a certain point in reincarnation where you're almost like a demigod, and then the demigods live on a certain level, and then they level up. It's like a video game. It's very interesting, but I can't find it to read it. So, like I said, I've been kind of stuck. But it's fascinating. It really is, and that's one of the other things when you start looking into their mythologies and their folklore. Their devils and demons are pretty much the same thing. Vampires are considered demons. So they don't have the infernal demons that we have in Western culture.
Something.
I mean, it's like it's like ghost and all of that are would be under the label demon.
That's something we haven't touched on very much yet, is the metaphysical aspect of comparative religion. I think it's very interesting how each religion would handle or try to define possession, or something to that effect, or like a haunting or a poltergeist. Like there's some religions I feel that don't have really much of an answer for that.
I was going to even ask, is like a possession thing even across the board in religion? Is that something that all kind of have a belief in?
Well, I don't think.
Do
they?
Yeah. So, I mean, Islam has it. You wouldn't really call that. I mean, you don't get a lot more Eastern than that, I guess. Middle Eastern. I don't know about Taoism. I don't know about Buddhism. But you definitely have it in the Middle Eastern religions. You have it in Christianity. I mean, I don't really know how deep it goes or what the demons are or how things are possessed. But I know in some of the, I don't even know if you can call it a religion, but some of the Chinese believe that their nature spirits can possess people, and the people can possess the things in nature, like a tree. And I know in the United States, I don't know if you guys know have you ever heard the term Manitou before? That deals with a spirit. Like everything has a spirit. Everything, a beer can, a piece of plastic, everything has a spirit, and so those aren't all good. So sometimes a lesser spirit wants to move up, and so they will possess something that's of a higher level.
Okay, so
until they move all the way.
I'm going to stop you there for a second. Like, think about this.
That sounded confrontational. Argue.
I know. Right there.
Well, no, I have to jump in. So that's an ancient religion, and we know now with today's technology that literally everything vibrates.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything's made up of molecules. Everything vibrates, right. So it isn't wrong. Like that isn't wrong per se. I just wanted to stop because that's very interesting that
Mhm.
they had that thought thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's an old thought.
That's all.
I mean, I think some people had that thought the day before yesterday as well.
Well, that's why I think that you look deep into the past, and you can find a lot of answers because, especially to me, again, this is just my personal interest where I'm looking, is in Eastern philosophy and Eastern medicine and things like that, where you are noticing that there is they do pay attention to the vibration of things. And I know Tully probably does this too, is I can hold a crystal and Laura might be able, and I know Stephen probably can too. You hold a crystal, you can feel that crystal vibrate. They're
Mhm.
different rocks that have different vibrations, but some people can't feel them. And
Right.
I don't understand it. Is it that they don't recognize that that's what that feeling is, or can they
Well,
just not feel it?
there's a school of thought as far as like practical magic goes, or even prayer for that matter, that a spell, for instance, like if you lay down and do a ritual with intention, you're actually manipulating not like some crazy like fantasy thing, but that you're actually manipulating the wavelength of the universe in some way, ever how small, to influence the
That's what
physical
we
world.
call weaving the weird, Tully.
So
Well, isn't that kind of the basis of like law of attraction? That idea that you put out positive energy and it comes back to you.
it
So,
could
I
be
mean,
anything.
very simple.
Attraction, yeah, or it could be, God forbid, like somebody who wanted to harm somebody else,
Right. Yeah.
or help somebody.
Yeah.
Just like how if you play music for plants that they grow better, like
Mhm.
same principles. We're all waves like electric,
Right.
and everything's vibrating. So there are ways to manipulate that, I guess is what I mean.
It's interesting, though. I mean, that you talk about something like this, an old belief that then goes back a ways. But then the reason comparative religion is so interesting, too, from a historical point of view, is the way things evolve. I mean, there was a time when saying that the sun was the center of our solar system would get you executed. So, I mean, the idea that things change over time is very interesting, too.
Well,
Things that people so strongly believe that then get maybe proved wrong because of science or just
and it's like you
sensibility.
said at the beginning, nobody had these squares in our hands all the time, and we weren't around all of this stuff to keep us
Right.
entertained all of the time.
Right.
So people were generally spiritual in nature and in actual nature
Right.
almost all the time, and in their thoughts and being mindful. So I think it was probably a lot easier for them to discover that.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Well, hey guys, we
But by
got
the
about
same-
6 minutes left.
Sorry.
Let's go ahead and start wrapping it up.
Okay.
Well, that was quick.
That was
Yeah,
fast.
it went by really fast.
Well, it's a
The
fascinating
jinn,
topic.
the jinn are what the Muslims call the
It is.
demons.
Oh, okay. This is the fastest hour on the internet.
I mean, really. Well, I mean, you say comparative religion, it's like, Lord, how much time you got? An hour is nothing.
Yeah, you could spend 6 months on this easy.
We'll have to
Absolutely.
revisit this later. We all have a chance to do
Well, after
to
we
do,
all take our belief.net tests and know exactly where we stand. We'll-
Stop.
The Buddhist
Yeah.
thing doesn't make sense to me because if I lose my car keys, I've got no hole in the wall, so I don't think I'd ever be
You just let it go. You just go with the flow.
let my fist flow through the wall.
That is not very Buddhist of you, I'm just going to say.
You're not
That's a
screaming.
different interpretation.
Well, Laura, what are you, what's DL Martone got going on?
Right now, we're fulfilling our Kickstarter. We just had a Kickstarter for our Zombie Chaos series, so that's what we're kind of focused on right now. We're creating our first tarot deck, which is very exciting.
Well, you want to tell everybody about it before we?
Oh yeah, I mean the Kickstarter's over now, but we do have our little backer kit store that I'll put out on Facebook. So actually, it's still like available, the things that we sold. Essentially, it's all about our fan favorite, our cat Azazel, who's based on our actual cat. in our zombie series. And so that's what the focus of that is. So we're working on that and other things as usual. We have, too many series that we're trying to work on at once, but I think that right now is our focus. I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. That's me.
Well, we're happy to have you join our weird family for sure.
Definitely. We're excited.
Steven, what you got going on? You camping anytime soon? You going to what is it?
Falk.
The Boggy Creek Festival?
Yeah, that'll be coming up in sometime in March. I'll have to
That's
check
awesome.
the date. So go hang out with Keith and some of the other crew that always show up. It's always a fun time.
You'll have to get us the information. We'll put it up on our website.
Yeah, I'll have to do that so we can share that around. Maybe somebody from Mississippi or wherever, everyone's welcome.
I might just quit my job and roll on down.
Come on down, Keith. I bet Keith.
I'm going to make my boyfriend take me.
Yeah,
So wait, are you guys all in Mississippi except Rich?
I'm not.
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
No.
Okay. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Tully and I.
Tully's up there by you. He's in Ohio.
Yeah, you've got some big
Don't dare accuse me of being in Ohio.
He's in Kentucky like me.
I'm on the last exit in Kentucky next to Cincinnati.
Oh, okay.
Really?
I love Kentucky. Mammoth Cave is my favorite place in the world.
I'm just giving you a hard time, Hadley.
I was like, we've been talking about that train derailment.
Well, fun fact, Cincinnati's airport
Rich Christie, what you got going on?
is in Kentucky.
Let Tully finish. What are you going to say?
I was just going to say Cincinnati's airport is actually in Kentucky.
Well, that's what that happens.
See, that's disappointing to me, Shelby, because I thought I had actually gone to Ohio one time when I had to swap planes at the airport.
Nope.
Nope.
Boy, it's crossing states off.
Yeah,
I love that you crossed the state off because you landed in an airport. That's like me saying, "Oh, I've been to Amsterdam." No,
Hey, I bought
Exactly.
the keychain, okay?
Yeah. No, I had to. I think I actually had to jog to make it to the next terminal to catch the next plane. So it was.
Well, maybe you crossed the border and didn't know it while you were jogging.
Yeah, it'd be all right.
Oh man, my face hurts from all the smiling.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's funny.
We should have been arguing at this point, shouldn't we?
I know. This went actually much more smoothly than I thought it might.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me stop you here, Rich.
Yeah, except for that moment. I was like, whoa.
You did interrupt his promos.
I was not meaning to sound mean. I just wanted to point out something cool that he said.
Done good, kid. It was all right.
We should ask Rich some kind of scientific question before we get
Oh
off.
no, don't do that. I've been drinking.
Tell us about
That's the best
neutrinos.
time.
I've been drinking too much to be a thinking.
Tell us about neutrinos and how they affect the
Okay,
planet.
so when are the next
Hadley's
things being
trying
dropped
to.
while we're in the folk?
What? What was that, Hadley?
When are
I
y'all
heard
dropping
We're in
your
the
next stuff from We're in the Folk?
Merfolk coming out tomorrow or maybe Sunday, depending on how this
Cool.
computer acts. It's
Yeah,
been
see,
Well,
It's
just
been
make
acting
sure
setting
you
up a new
send me
computer.
the stuff so I can clear it.
I've been having to set up a new computer because the one that I currently have is a POS.
Mhm.
But we do have all 3 parts out on the serial killer Samuel Little. if you're
Samuel
interested.
Little. And when the next two episodes are going to be Merfolk with our favorite people in the world, Hadley and Morgana.
Cool.
Yeah,
We love y'all too.
you was on that, right?
All right, Rich,
If she's not, you're gonna have to go back and re-edit things.
I thought I heard you on there. Why is that it? But
Well,
no,
I guess
So, Rich, what are you doing?
Writing stuff. I mean, not this past week, but I got 4 stories going on right now. I'm about to start 2 podcasts. One of them is called 10 Minutes of Dick, where I just read. I'm just going to start reading. I'm going to grab somebody's book, and as long as they get permission, read it and make fun of it and say it's great and that kind of thing. And then I got another podcast called DFD, which is Don't F and Die, and it's going to be a sort of a, I don't want to call it a prepper or survivalist thing, but that's what it's going to be. So I'm just going to speak my mind on what I think and get torn apart by the pro preppers who say, you can't do that. I'm going to say, I've been doing it for 20 years. Yes, I can. That type of thing. So
That sounds fun.
Oh, yeah. We got the Falcon news coming out soon, too.
Oh,
So
guys, what are we talking about next week, Tully?
Next week, we are going to have a special guest on to speak with us on unexplained disappearances.
Ooh.
Cool.
Ooh.
None in particular, just
Oh.
unexplained disappearances.
You know, things that disappeared unexplainably.
Yes. Hadley, what all
All
do you
right,
have
kids.
going
Well,
on?
that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Weird Awakenings. Until next time, y'all stay weird.
Bye.
The aliens are a cover up for the train crash in Ohio.